Hey everybody! We are currently going live. I'm just setting up the text so that it goes onto Instagram as well. So I'm streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Hopefully, that is the plan. Here we go. It's just connecting now. So I'm going to try and keep an eye on everybody's comments as well. Also, I put some background music on. Let me know in the comments if it's distracting. There was only a few to choose from. And in fact, I think this one feels a little bit sad, but maybe that's okay for painting and artistic videos. But let me know if it's distracting or too loud. So I can just turn it off. So basically, I just thought I'd do some painting today. This is just going to be a very chill live. I'm not going to be teaching anything necessarily, but I can share like little helpful tips. Basically, I started this painting last night, and it's a painting inspired by the Scottish Highlands of Glencoe, which is one of my favorite places in the whole entire world. This is like the bigger one that I did a few years ago now, with like some trees. It's very abstract, kind of like impressionistic style, and I've been using a rubber wedge to create a lot of the trees, which is one of my favorite tools ever, and also a palette knife, the trusty palette knife, which I love for both impressionistic artwork. So I thought today it'd be a bit of like an impressionistic demo, because I know that a lot of you guys are really intrigued as to how a person can kind of have that impressionistic style. Oh, I'm getting your comments come through now. Thank you so much. Yes, just let me know in the comments what you think, if this music is too loud, because I don't know. I don't know if it's too much. So this is the painting I started. I can give you a little bit of a close-up. Obviously, it is very, very abstract and messy at the moment. But this is how I really love to kind of like start those layers. And then what I'll do is I'll start adding a few more trees, a bit more depth. But the main thing that I really wanted to chat to you guys about is tomorrow I'm going to be doing a live workshop. This is going to be more teaching in tomorrow's class, and I'm going to be sending out the workbooks and the links very, very soon, literally in like a couple of hours. So I want to make sure that you are registered. So if you're on YouTube, you should be able to check the comments. I'm hoping it's in the comments. Actually, it seems to have disappeared. So let me just post a link now. Register your spot here. And basically, it is very important to register because it's going to be a private event, but it is a free class. So I just put register your free show. I'll pop the link. So let me know as well in the comments if you already are registered, because that would be awesome to see who is already kind of registered and on the list to get the workbook. So I've popped that in the link. If you are streaming on Instagram, you can just comment the word paint free. Oh, can't click it. Oh, on YouTube. That's strange, Jenny. I'm sorry that you can't click it. Should be in the description box as well, hopefully. So hopefully that's... Let me know. Let me know if you can click it in there as well. If you are streaming on Instagram, you should be able to comment the word paint free, and we can send you a DM that will all automatically do it. Jacob and Ellie Design says, will there be a replay? Yes, there will be a replay, but only for those that are registered. Oh, somebody said I can't hear anything. I can't hear. Can you guys hear me speaking? I've just seen a few comments saying you can't hear. Not in the description. Oh, okay. Let me have a think about this. I think what the best way to do is if you head to one of my recent Instagram posts or my most recent YouTube video after this, you'll be able to see it in there. You'll be able to get it there. I can hear. Oh, cool. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks for just confirming, because I've got all the tech set up. I've got like a little clip on mic, and I've got these. I'm just trying to make sure that everything is actually working. It's kind of a miracle if it does. Yeah, awesome. So I'll talk a little bit about the class. Basically, tomorrow's class is all going to be about a process. It's not going to be about one specific painting, but it is going to be about a process that you can implement for any painting. So it basically unlocks for you to be able to paint whatever you want. So it's not just about one specific tutorial or how to paint trees or anything like that in tomorrow's class. It is literally how to paint anything, because I know so many of you love following tutorials, but then like the minute that you kind of have your own idea and you kind of branch off and think, oh, I really get, passionate about pets or flowers or whatever it is, and you kind of get your own reference photos. That's when things can kind of start crumbling, start going wrong when we're not following one of those tutorials. But that is because of a very specific reason. And that is what I'm going to go into tomorrow's lesson. So do make sure you register. Yeah, let me know any of you if any of you are already registered for tomorrow. There's already over 1,000 of you registered, which is incredible. I'm so excited. And I love it in the chats, just like now when everyone's like chatting, and there'll also be a Q&A section as well. So that's really fun. And yes, if it is nighttime, I do understand. And I understand that's very difficult to get up in the middle of the night. So don't worry, there will be a replay, but it will just go out to those registered. And David mentioned visited Glencoe a few years ago. Amazing. It is a stunning place. And so yeah, let's get stuck into painting. So the colors that I'm using today are phthalo blue, phthalo green, and orange, just to take that kind of saturation down. As I've mentioned, I've got a rubber wedge and also a palette knife. So I'm going to basically try and carve into these trees. In fact, it's probably easier to move my laptop than it is my whole painting. Oh, Kashish said, I hope I said your name right. Kashish. Yes, I have already registered. Looking forward to it. Yay! Amazing. That's so exciting. Yeah, someone mentioned I panicked. I thought it was happening now. No, don't worry. It's happening tomorrow. Amazing. Thanks so much, everybody on Instagram as well for your comments. I just have to flick to a different screen to just check them. Will an email come through to register? I don't see it here. So yes, if you're on Instagram, you can just comment the word paint free and I'll reply to you with the link to register. Heather says, which orange? The orange that I'm using is Vat Orange. Just hold that up. Vat orange, which is apparently the most truest orange according to Golden Acrylics, and that you can get for the CMYK color wheel, which is the color wheel that I use. And if you are, if that kind of just is like color theory, all that just goes over your head, don't worry. It used to for me as well. And that's one of the things we'll be going into tomorrow's class too. Yeah, someone mentioned I'm registered. Yay, that's amazing. Cool. Thank you all so much for your comments. Just lets me know. Do I know a country named Myanmar? I do. I've never been, but I definitely know of it. I don't have a palette knife. That's okay. Honestly, this video is not necessarily a tutorial. It's just to kind of like show you in the process that I kind of do, because sometimes the tutorials are actually, of course, only about an hour long. And with that, it can be very difficult to kind of show you exactly everything I do, because my own paintings, I spend a lot more than an hour on. So tutorials, I kind of like show you a little bit into the process. But with these much deeper videos, I think it can sometimes help like to see an artist doing their own painting rather than filming a tutorial, because it's a very different process. You'll notice that a lot of my paintings are quite different from the tutorials I make, and that's because my paintings generally have a lot more layers. And so I'm just going to take some of the phthalo green, and you'll notice just a little tip here. Rather than adding black to create like a darker version, show the color wheel. This is a perfect place to show the color wheel. So we've got, let's say green. Let's say we've got this like greeny blue. I'm kind of using this between green and blue, so it's kind of a mixture of all these. But to take that saturation down, rather than just adding black, I'm going to add the opposite color. So rather than it being red, I've got an orange. I'm going to add that in. The reason for that is I don't want a gray color. I just want a warmer version of it. So what I'm going to do is take some of that green, add some of that blue, and add some of that orange. And then I think a better way as well will be to add a bit of white to this, because you'll see that's really dark color now. So very, very beautiful dark color. And we can certainly add that in the painting, maybe like down here, to create some depth. I think what's really nice about when using darker color is not just to use it everywhere, but to use it very intentionally to draw the eye in. And I kind of like to draw the eye in, especially down the corner. I feel like when my eye can sit with a real dark base color, it kind of like grounds the painting and gives a place for your eye to relax. So I'm just going to use my palette knife to kind of create a tree shape. I do also have a YouTube video on creating tree shapes with all different tools, with brushes, palette knives, and a rubber wedge. But if I just, now I've used that dark color, if I just add a bit of white to that, you'll see that it's a really nice, it's still kind of like very colorful, but it's not quite as intense because we've just put that orange in just to take it down. So if you're on YouTube, you should be able to join tomorrow's class with the link in the comment or the description box. And if you are on Instagram, you should be able to put paint free, and that can register for you for tomorrow's lesson. Cool. And if you've got any questions, just let me know in the comments. I'm just going to keep checking in the comments to make sure. So then what I might do is take that lighter color that we added white to, but white, it can sometimes take a bit of the color out. So I'm going to add a bit more orange to that just to warm that up slightly. And this could be a highlight on the tree. So of course, when we think about a highlight, generally it's from the sun. And the sun is very warm in color. It's an orange glow. And that's why I've added a bit of orange to that. So it's not just a white highlight, but it's a warm white highlight. Oh, got it registered. Awesome. That's amazing. That's amazing. It's so wonderful to see that you guys are registering for the class tomorrow, because I know how life-changing this process has been for me. Like, really, I used to love painting, but honestly, it would usually end up in such frustration, feeling terrible about myself, feeling terrible about what I made. And it honestly took away from the process, to be honest. Like, when you love painting, but you don't like what you make, it isn't quite as fun. And I'm sure that a lot of you also resonate with that as well. And so when you can enjoy painting and create something that you really love and feel proud of, and something that you feel is a great painting, and it does align with the vision that you initially had, that's when it just turns into magic, because you can really get in that creative flow and also feel very very in control of your painting. I remember painting used to feel a bit like a guessing game for me. I'd be like, oh, well, I'm not quite sure, it's not right, but maybe I'll just add a bit here and add a bit there. And then layer by layer, end up kind of losing the very thing that you did like about it. And so it can be a very, very difficult place when you're not quite sure which action to take next. But that's exactly in the process that I'll show you tomorrow, that just takes away that guessing game completely, which allows you to be in that creative flow even more. Like now, I feel like I'm just playing with paint, but all the time, I'm also thinking about the values, I'm thinking about the composition. You know, when we put this dark bit here, I'm kind of constantly surveying through almost like these little tick boxes. Oh, Angela says she's registered. Amazing. Yeah, just let me know. Do you guys have any questions about tomorrow's class? If some of you are just joining now, tomorrow's workshop is more going to be about the process rather than a tutorial. If you want tutorials, there are so many on my YouTube channel. But really, what I love to do now is help kind of people break free from tutorials and get that real confidence to paint on their own and kind of paint your own ideas. Because it does come to a point where I'm sure many of you here now kind of enjoy following tutorials, but you feel like you're in that weird zone between being a beginner and a confident artist. There's middle stage where you kind of like feel a little bit confident painting, but still, then when you come to paint your own ideas, you can sometimes feel lost. And that's exactly who tomorrow's class is designed for. And Becky says what times it starts. So it begins at 5 p.m. UK time. But on the registration page, I have popped some different times, and also once you've registered, I've linked a world clock because it is open worldwide. So if you want to check what time it is wherever you're located, you know what, time zones really confuse me. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of different time zones. So those world clock buddies are my best friend when it comes to that. Susan said, will we be able to see the tutorial later? So tomorrow's class is not going to be a tutorial, but it's going to be about a process that really sets people free from tutorials, from having to rely on anything, which is super fun, because then you get to paint your own ideas and your own style, and that's when people start to break free and really become an artist in their own right. Oh, yes, we have another registration for tomorrow's class. That's amazing. Oh, don't worry if you have exams for tomorrow. And there will be a replay that goes out. Amazing. So yeah, just let me know if you guys got any questions. And yeah, how to get good at color theory. So to be honest, color theory is a lot easier than it looks and feels. I always think about color theory, so I'm just going to top up some of my paints. I always think color theory is more like a language in itself. Um, like color itself is a language, and it's just a case of learning the language. And kind of like any language, initially it feels a bit clunky. We might get bits wrong, but over time we get that confidence. And the more we use a language, the more quicker and confident we get. And it's the same with color. And so, kind of the process that I teach is to really just throw you in at the deep end when it comes to color. And a lot of the color mixing lessons in Learn to Paint with Confidence are actually using only 3 colors throughout most of the lessons. And I know that might sound crazy, but you can actually make pretty much all colors just using 3 different colors. And that's the method I teach in Learn to Paint with Confidence, because if you can do that, it gives you freedom. It gives you freedom. And you really, really do not need all those colors that they show at the art store. You really, really do not need them. Like most things in this world, companies will find a way to make the most money from you. And I think showing you all those colors is one of the ways that they do that. And actually, it takes away your personal power, because then you end up relying on these color mixers. And one of the best things that you can do for yourself is truly understand this color language. So I'm just adding in some of those darker tones now. This is just the phthalo green and the phthalo blue with a bit of orange again. I think what I'm going to do is build up the darker tones. Oh, I'll show you my reference photo. I've just realized I haven't shown you that. This is a reference photo I'm using. And so my goal and my plan is to kind of build in those darker tones first, put some of the lighter tones on top, and then kind of just go back in with some of the darks. But I'm really just playing. I'm just playing at this point. I don't like to be too refined until the very end. I kind of just play, experiment, put layers down. And it's not until the painting starts to feel finished, that's when I'll really get my strict critique head on, and I'll start to edit, refine, which is not just about adding. Finishing a painting is not just about adding layers. It's actually about editing out. Like a lot of the things I will add, I will end up taking away. And because sometimes the best kind of thing we can do is say the most with the least. I think one of the biggest challenges in a lot of creativity, in a lot of creative, I don't say hobbies, but a lot of creative things in life, part of the difficulty is actually learning how to say the most with the least. Like even when you think about certain riffs of songs, some of the most memorable songs are the simplest. And that's the same with painting. Sometimes we can overcomplicate things so much, and it's not needed. But it is actually weirdly hard to say not very much. That's why impressionistic paintings always absolutely just captivate me. Because when you look close, have you ever done it when you've looked at an impressionistic painting and you look close and it looks so simple? There's just like a few different brush strokes, and yet you know exactly what it is, and there's so much mood conveyed through it. And you think, how has someone refined it to that stage? And a lot of people actually assume that impressionistic artwork is simple to do or easy to do, and it's the opposite. It's very, very difficult to condense a whole image into just a few brush strokes. It almost requires, well, not almost, it requires the artist to be able to do it in a very, I'm going to say realistic way, and then have to condense it further into a simple way, if that makes any sense. It's like the backwards way you'd think it would be. And that is my goal, is to always give my paintings this impressionistic edge. Because I love paint, I love these like interesting marks, but I do also want to create something that looks, professional and not realistic, but gives you a feeling. My focus for my art is that it gives you the feeling of the day then that I was there, how the air felt, what the temperature was like. Those are all the sorts of things I love to convey in my paintings. Right, I'm just gonna check in with some questions that you guys might have. Oh, thanks all so much for your lovely comments. Yeah, if you wanna register for the replay, it's the same place to register. So everyone that's registered will also get the replay, whether you manage to join live or not. Because I know a lot of people kind of like to watch it live and then kind of like to re-watch it in their own time. Arnold says, "Can you also make surrealist art?" I have tried a few times before. I love looking at it. I don't very often make it. I don't know why that is. I suppose a lot of my dreams are very surreal, so how do you take off brush hair on the canvas? Yeah, actually, I do have a good hack for that. If you have a brush, let's just get a couple, for example. If you have a little brush hair on your canvas, the best thing to do is take a clean brush, kind of spread it out a bit, and kind of take it to the side like this, and then it'll get it. Because sometimes when you like going with your fingers, you end up with just like a big finger blob, which we don't want, unless that's your style. Whereas if you take the brush and kind of go in from the side, kind of like perpendicular to the brush hair, it usually kind of just flicks it off, and it doesn't usually leave a mark. So definitely give that a go. Little hack for you. Heather says, "I'm registered too." Amazing. So for anyone that's just joining in live to the video now, and today what we're doing is I'm just showing you a bit of my process. I'm basically just painting live today. I started this last night, and it's so far very abstract in nature, but it's inspired by Glencoe. And oh, a little thing I've been using as well is this semi-gloss golden extra heavy gel, which is basically it's an acrylic medium, but it is a gel. So what you do, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. I literally just take a brush and just like dip it in, and then even just like I love to just spread it on. Now at the minute, oh, sorry, you can't quite see that on the Instagram live. There we go. You can see that as I put it on, it looks white. It just looks like white, doesn't it? But actually, when that dries, it will dry clear, and it's such a cool hack for texture. So the first ever layer I did on this painting was actually using liquid acrylic. Was it liquid? It was the high flow golden paints. They're in like a little bottle, and it's very very watery, and it's designed basically to have a really nice watery consistency without having added water to it, because if you just add water to normal acrylics, it actually breaks down the acrylic binders in the paint. So it's actually a safer way to do it is to use these high flow acrylics. But basically, so I've gone on about 3 tangents here. Basically, what I do is I use this on top of that first layer, because these fluid acrylics, of course, they don't have much texture because they're very watery. So when they dry, it's just flat canvas. So what I do is I like to add this on top, and then you have the lovely watery drip marks, but then you also have this lovely texture on top. So yeah, that is another little hack for you, which I've been doing. And yeah, that will dry completely clear, like these big white splodges. And I actually did this last night as well. So I'm kind of building up this texture, and that's just one of my favorite ways to do it, because I think it creates a really cool effect as well when you have like a translucent layer, because you can kind of see the paint underneath it as well. When you have these translucent layers, it's like, oh, you can kind of see the texture on the top, but it's almost like a bit of glass that you can look through. So this color that I'm putting on now, I've desaturated it a lot. And the reason for that is you'll see in my reference photo, there's quite a bit of gray. There's like pops of green, but a lot of it's that gray kind of misty feeling. So I'm just adding in these more desaturated colors so that when I put those deep, rich greens on top, they really pop next to that. And someone mentioned, is this pre-recorded? No, we are fully live. Anything could happen. This is why I don't do it very often, because it's quite scary. But I know that you guys are very kind and will give me grace if anything goes wrong. Like I drop my palette, that's what usually happens. I drop my palette all over me. You'll hear a very raw, real reaction to that. So the reason why I've put some orange in there as well is to kind of have a nice balance of the warm and the cool. We know that blue and green generally are very cool colors. And that's nice, but we like a bit of balance. Our eyes tend to like balance. So that's why I've got this orange. It's just going to warm up that. So even though obviously the color I've mixed is not orange, it's just a warm gray is how I describe it. So rather than the whole painting feeling very cold, because I don't want it to feel cold, I want it to feel kind of nourishing, because that's the feeling that I have when I'm surrounded by these trees. I feel very cocooned and very nourished. And that's kind of the feeling that I want to put across in the painting. And so to do that, part of that comes down to color, because we all know that colors have different effects on psychology even. It's why people feel calm in trees, because green is meant to be calm, and red is meant to be fiery and all that sort of stuff. And it's pretty cool to kind of implement that into our paintings as well and think about the effect that we want people to have. So for those that have just joined, I'd love to take this opportunity to invite you to a workshop that's happening tomorrow. This workshop right now, we're just doing some painting. But tomorrow's workshop is a proper class where you get a workbook and you can print it off and you can make little notes, and there's going to be fun interaction style quizzes and things like that. And the thing that we're going to be discussing together is a process to really unlock you as an artist, because many of us love painting, but we might not call ourselves an artist. And it's really to bridge that gap between someone who would probably describe themselves as an amateur even, or a beginner painter, or a new painter, but it's going to bridge that gap to the steps to become a confident artist. Because confident artists are not just born that way. It's not just down to natural talent, even though many people would have us believe that. But there is a very specific kind of process that I put myself through, and that's the process that I love to help others with as well. So tomorrow's class is all about that, but do make sure you register, because it will be a private class. So yeah, make sure you register. If you're on YouTube, you should be able to see that in the description box, hopefully. And if you are on Instagram, you can just comment the words paint free, and I'll send you a DM with the link and we'll get you registered for that. So I'm just going to check through some comments now. Raindrop says, I can't wait to see this painting finished. I know, me too. I know. I think I'm probably going to be working on this all night. I don't think I'll be able to show you the whole process, but I'll definitely keep you all updated on probably Instagram stories. Yeah, no problem. Just if you got any issues with anything, just reply to any of my emails, and I have a wonderful support team who will help get everyone everything they need. Yeah, so my favorite kind of inspirations are Monet, of course, and Matisse is another one. I feel like Monet and Matisse like kind of have the two different sides of art that I love, because I love Impressionism, and Monet has that very nice relaxing feel. It's very kind of confined, like the color choices they use are quite confined. They tell a real clear story, and a lot of them are very ethereal. Is that the right word? Very relaxing to look at. And then Matisse has this injection of color, and almost like the colors that sit next to each other, kind of like electric. And so I feel like I have that streak in me as well, that it just really excites me. And so those are probably my two favorite ones. Yeah, a few have mentioned the link isn't working in the description box. I'm really sorry about that. I don't know why that is. Let me just grab the link for you again. And I'll just pop it in this comment and hopefully it'll work in the comments. Register here. Okay, I've just posted it in a comment, so hopefully in YouTube and Facebook it should work in the comments. Hopefully. If not, don't worry. There's links pretty much on every social media that I have going. If you go into my Instagram, you should be able to find the link in the profile. And also, if you head to my most recent YouTube video, the link will be there to join too. So don't panic. We'll get you registered. And if all else fails, just send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, and yeah, we'll make sure that we get you registered. So I'm thinking right now that we've done a lot of these dark green. Oh, guys, this is what I mean by live video. I just had a palette knife problem. Oh dear. Well, what can I say? I feel like we need to hold a little memorial for the palette knife. That's seen me through some paintings, that one has. But don't worry, we've got lots more. 2 times says, "Can you say hi to me?" Hi. I love your painting so much. Thank you so much. I love all you guys. Thanks so much for your support, honestly. Like, you guys are the reason why I am painting for my job, which is pretty much the dream. So without you guys, honestly, that would not be happening. So I appreciate every single one of you. Every view, every comment, it all means so much. And I look through it all. And I might not have time to respond to everything, but I definitely look through every single comment on my YouTube. So thank you. So I'm just adding a bit of yellow. Now we have a new palette knife back in the back in the works. I'm adding a bit of yellow to this green because I realized in this painting I did add a little bit of these yellow kind of like colors last night, but I really want that on the trees now. I feel like we've set quite a strong baseline of the dark colors. So now I'm going to start to add in some of those lighter colors. This is okay. In fact, I think I want it a bit more lime green than that. So I'm just adding in even more yellow. You'll see on the color wheel, basically this is phthalo green, which is a very bluey green. I'll just quickly show you on the color wheel like what I'm doing on my palette. I kind of started off with a green like this, but because I've added yellow, it ended up, if I just pull it up, it ended up a green like this. So you can kind of see that's what I got by adding yellow to that. But we can kind of push that even further into an even more lime green with more yellow. So let's just see what that's like. Usually what I do at this point is just pop a little bit on where I might want it, because sometimes we can have it on our palette, but then when we actually add it to the painting, we think, not sure if I really like it. I think that is okay in like a minimal amount, but it looks a little bit intense. I think I'd have to be very, very careful about where I kind of use that. I think what would be really nice, actually, let's do some more color mixing. Let's add a bit of orange to that, see what happens. Because I'm thinking it would be nice to have a bit more of a yellow ochre kind of color, like a burnt sienna. So I just added a bit of orange to that, and I think that's a lot nicer, actually. It's a bit more of like a dirty yellow green is what I prefer. And this is exactly what I mean, guys. So you can see that we only use 3 colors, and yet look at my palette. We're just getting all these colors that we need. And this is the power of color mixing, when you can really dedicate yourself to learning that language of color. It unlocks, and honestly, it is like unlocking a treasure chest of color. And then suddenly everything becomes possible. And not only that, but you can get that confidence in knowing exactly how to create that color that you need. I used to remember kind of like, oh, adding a bit of this, adding a bit of that, and I'd end up just creating this big pile of color that I hated, and I was like, I don't know how to get the color I need, and it'd be so frustrating. It'd take me so long, and it was such a waste of paint. And I think to learn color mixing requires a lot of paint, but it's the best use of paint you'll ever spend, because once you really understand color mixing, you never waste paint ever again. Because even now, if it's not the right color, I know exactly what to add to make it the right color. And that's not just me, because I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning. anyone can learn it. It's just a skill that anyone can learn. Truly believe that, because 'cause I've seen it over and over. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Just checking through if anyone's popped any questions. Glassy Art says, "I've just registered." Yay! Amazing. Yeah, anyone just let me know in the comments, anyone who's registered. ATDR says, "I'm a missionary and artist as well. You're the one who helped me evolve so much. I created almost 500 small and big artworks that sold last pandemic." Oh, amazing. Wow, that's amazing. Well done. That's incredible. And you know what? That's so inspiring to me. We all talk about being inspired, but actually, I get so inspired by everyone who refuses to let go of their dream to paint, no matter what. I think the saddest thing is to feel passionate about something and not let yourself do it, whether that's for any reason really. But a lot of the time, and I can tell you this from my own experience, a lot of the time we can say reasons why we don't paint, and it might not be quite the reason underneath that reason. And what I mean by that is a lot of the time, I wouldn't have time to paint, or that's deeply to my bones what I believed I didn't have time. And yet, there I would be binge watching Netflix episodes or scrolling on my phone for an hour into the reels of, I don't know, darkness. And really, when I think about it, it's like, is it because I don't have time? Why am I saying I don't have time? And it was actually because I was protecting myself from a different thing. And it was coming down to I was scared to fail at it. I was petrified of getting all my paints out and thinking, I'm gonna paint, I love painting, and then be disappointed with what I made. That felt way more scary. So, somewhere in my brain, I just decided it was because I didn't have time. And maybe that resonates with anyone out there as well. So, yeah, sometimes we can say these things, but then we take actions that are to the contrary of that in other areas. And the other thing with that is it does take energy. It does take a lot of energy to paint. And I say that as a mum now. It's like a lot of the time we might have the physical time, but it is a very energetically emptying experience to paint. We have to put a lot of ourselves into it, even physically. You know, mixing paints, hard work. Your arm starts to ache, and especially when it's up there. And but not only that, but in the mind, it can sometimes be difficult to kind of get in that zone of I'm gonna learn something. You know, all the kids are in bed, it's 8:30, and now I'm gonna put a light on and start learning. So yeah, I do totally understand with that. And that's why most of my lessons are bite-sized and just like small chunks of learning. Because it is amazing what you can learn in just 10 minutes. Yeah, Johnny says I'm spreading myself thin by doing too many things. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Sometimes we have the load of lots of different things, don't we? And it is so important still though to carve out that time. I know I would like kind of put all the priorities in life, and then painting would never be the priority. And so that was always the thing that got left behind and didn't happen. And actually painting is a priority because the effects that having a great painting session can have is incredible. Forget the spa days, painting sessions are where it's at. And the best thing, you can just do it in your house, stick some music on, and just let loose on a canvas. Best therapy there is. So please do carve out time for your creative pursuits because it is so important, and we must never underestimate how important it is. So if you're watching on Instagram, please do comment the words paint free. You'll see it in the comments from others. Please do comment the word paint free and we will get you registered. I'll send you a DM to register for tomorrow's class, which is all about process of how you can really implement the 5 core ingredients that are in every painting so that you can unlock your own ideas and have confidence to put those onto canvas. That's what tomorrow's workshop is about. I don't actually draw superheroes, no. Although yesterday I was painting Toad from Super Mario with my 5-year-old who was having a complete breakdown because he didn't think his Toad was very good, and it was hard. It was heartbreaking to watch him get so frustrated at himself, and yeah, we've all been there, right? Okay, so I'm kind of thinking what this painting needs. What I might do is kinda let that dry. Let me show you a bit of a close up because I think a lot of the things I've done, you probably can't see ever so clearly. You can see the texture, and that's why I have to let each layer really dry. Oh, you'll see this mark here is from I was mentioning before about the fluid acrylics. So that is the golden fluid, high flow, I think it's called. Let's see a really good spot where those are here. This is a really good spot to see the high flow acrylics. And you'll see like kind of it's a bit flat. There's not a lot of texture there, and that's why I put that texture on top. So then I kind of add that thick, heavy body paint on top. And sorry if the quality is not great of the camera. I usually plug in my proper big camera, but today I just was like, I don't think the technology is going to go my way. So I just went with the good old webcam. Classic. Yeah, the colours are very pretty, aren't they? What I can do as well, if you bear with me, I can show you kind of like a little bit more of what the finished painting will look like. Because right now, the image is in my head, but I know that not everyone can kind of, oh, you can kind of see it up there. Let me unplug you so that I can take you for a little walk around the studio. Ooh, no one's ever done this before. Right, that is the painting. Let me just get it on both things. That it's kind of going to be similar to. Sorry, I'm just moving things around. And again, it's kind of based on the trees and the forest of Glencoe. There was this lock there that was really beautiful. And all the family, we were all splashing in the lock and just has great memories. So that's kind of the paint I'm going for. So of course, this painting is just like in the very early stages of it still, and I'll definitely keep uploading images and stuff of the progress. Oh, thanks. Yeah, Jenny says I like the patches of white empty space. Yeah, I definitely want to continue to try and add like the lighter values and then the darker values, because that's where the contrast sits as well. It's just a case of like pushing and pulling, taking away and adding. I kind of like to play around with that kind of push and pull of adding stuff in the painting, then editing it out and refining it. And then I think that gives a really nice way to have that like experimentation of the painting as well. I'm just going to double check. Just let me know if anyone has any more questions, because I think I might get some more refreshments and then get my music on and continue with this painting. And I'll make sure to send you updates on Instagram stories and things like that. If anyone has any questions, just let me know now. And just let me know. Oh, I just had a question come in. Do you spray acrylic paintings afterwards or put on a coat or something on top? So you can use a varnish. I think is that the sort of thing that you mean? What I like to do actually, especially for commissions, very important paintings, is I will do a coat of isolation layer, an isolation layer, and then I will varnish on top of that. I don't know if I've got one to show you or not handy. Might be buried. Let's just check in here. Oh, because I know it is more handy when you can see it. Oh, here we go. I do. Look at me, I'm so organized. So basically, if I've finished the painting, what I will do is add an isolation coat. This is by Golden. This is basically, it evens out the sheen. So whether it's like matte or whether it's gloss, it will even all that out. And usually I do 2 layers of this. And this is basically, it protects the painting. if the varnish ever does need to be removed, it just sits in between those layers so that the painting doesn't ever get damaged if the varnish does ever need to be removed, and then just a varnish on top. So I usually use a gloss varnish or a matte varnish. And so yeah, I'm actually going to be filming some more in-depth lessons into varnishing for Learn to Paint with Confidence members, but that is something that will probably happen in the new year now. Do you look at a reference? Yeah, I usually always have a reference handy. This is a reference for this current painting that I'm using, but usually I take quite a lot of references. So I think I took about 200 different references for this kind of collection. So I have a lot of different ones. So if I'm like, oh, I really want a tree, maybe if I'm like, oh, I want a tree there, just going up the horizon line, but I don't have that specific tree on this reference photo, I'll then go through and check them all to find like a good tree. And I just basically pick out all the best bits of all the different reference photos and then meld them all together. So I do pretty much always use a reference. It's not very often I'll use my imagination. It's more that it's like the image in my head is from my imagination, but then I will use references to make that up rather than the other way around. When will you use matte? When will you use gloss varnish? Yeah, it depends on what the client wants. Usually, if I'm doing a commission, I would genuinely just ask, like, what do you prefer? Because it is quite I think it's quite a strong thing that really adds to a painting. Like, if you add a gloss varnish, it really does add quite an intense effect onto it. So, and that might not be their style. A lot of people kind of prefer like that more subdued matte look, whereas others just want those pops of color. And the gloss varnish does tend to make colors pop more and have them more vivid. So yeah, I usually just will ask the client if it's a commission, or if it's my own work, I will just decide on what I kind of want. But generally, I just stick to matte because for me, I love to see texture. And I love, like, my favorite thing, in fact, very often I don't really add a varnish with acrylics. The reason being is, now I know this is still wet, but it does give you the idea. If you look at this from the side, you'll see the bits of wet paint are glossy and the bit underneath is dry. Now, the reason why I love that is because I can really choose what glistens and what doesn't. And when you add a whole varnish on top, it gives it all the same sheen. Whereas part of the painting that I love is when it has a different sheen. I think it almost adds another dimension to a painting when you see it from the side. Some bits are glossy, some bits are matte, and that's what I love the most. So Neil said, I registered for your workshop, can't wait. Yay, amazing, amazing. Yeah, the last time I checked, there was 1,000 people registered for tomorrow's workshop, which is amazing. And I'm sure like all you guys will be chatting in the comments. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I just love them so much because I love to hear mostly your guys' experience, and to know kind of like what I can do to help. You know, what frustrations you're currently facing with painting, and really just kind of speak to the process that I've used. I just think it's fantastic. Diana says I'm registered but can't watch at that time. No problem. If you're not able to watch, that's absolutely fine. There's no pressure on these things. And there will be a replay. Feel free to join at any point you want. If you use the link, it will still come to the workshop. And also there will be a replay go out as well. Because I know a lot of people kind of like can tune in and out of these things but don't quite catch the whole thing. So I'm going to send a replay to everyone registered so you can kind of, you know, catch up on the bits you missed or whatever that is. Or sometimes you want to like rewatch something. And when something's live, it's like, oh, there's no rewind button, but that's why I'm doing a replay. So no problem. Okay, I'm just going to just double check there's no more questions. Oh, Jenny says, do you separate a picture from the background and foreground? Ish. I tend to kind of bounce between the layers. So rather than kind of doing one background layer and then adding my subject on top, I will do a background layer first, and usually I'll add some of those abstract marks like in the one behind me. But the more kind of layers I get towards the front, I will just bounce between the two, because I think sometimes you can tell, you know, if like the background's been painted and then the subject on top, sometimes you really do get the sense of that, especially with acrylics. So with acrylics, what I like to do is really kind of blend, meld the foreground and the background together so that it feels cohesive. And I think impressionistic work really lends itself to that as well because there's not as many like harsh lines, there's no outline of your subject, it all kind of just meshes together. And that's what I like. I really like blurred lines between background and foreground. It makes you kind of see something a little bit differently, and I think it's really immersive rather than just thinking like, oh, there's picture of a flower with, flowers in a vase. You can kind of sometimes see how the background works its way into the petals or the leaves, and it kind of feels more dynamic. So I kind of just do both layers at the same time. So I just realized my answers are really long. I just ramble on so much. Heather says, "What is an isolation layer?" Hopefully I covered that as much as I can, but basically it is a layer of, well, I'll tell you what, there's a description on the back. I'm just gonna read it. It acts as a clear, glossy, non-removable layer between acrylic painting and a removable varnish. It protects the painting if varnish is removed. That will definitely describe it way better than I ever could. Okay, cool. Can't see any more questions. Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you all so much for joining me on this little impromptu live. I'm thinking about doing a few more of these this week. We'll see. Maybe we could cover like a different little topic each day. But tomorrow's is going to be the main show. That is all going to be about how to create art that you love in your own style so that you can kind of just be set free from following these tutorials and really start to lean into your unique voice as an artist and create your own unique paintings, because that is how we become true artists, is when we can put into a painting or a piece of art our take on the world, our feelings, and that's amazing when we have that power to create unique artwork. So yeah, amazing. If you're not registered, I don't know if I've said it enough, but please make sure you register because it's not a public class tomorrow. It's going to be private. So do make sure you're registered for the links, and I will be sending out the workbook and the link in approximately 45 minutes for tomorrow's lesson. So you got 45 minutes to join to make sure you get all the information. How do you handle clients who are undecided which commissioned artwork they want? How do you help them decide or choose what is? Usually what I'll do is if I'm in like the process of seeing if someone wants a commission, I will send them examples of my work and see what their view is on, like, their favorite ones. I tend to ask what sort of colors they like, if there's ever been a painting that I've done that they've, like, really loved but maybe wanted in a different size or different things like that. And then usually people will see a painting of mine and say, "I like this painting. Can I have this, like, in a different version?" And most of my commissions are bridal bouquets, which of course is very easy because they send me a photo of their bouquet, and I might put my own little spin on it, or sometimes they want things incorporating. I remember one of the commissions I did last year, the bride had some different they had different things to signify kind of like their relationship in their wedding, little things in her hair and different colors and things like that that were very significant to them. And so it was really nice to be able to put those in the painting as well. So it really depends on the client. But usually it's not that I necessarily help them to decide, but I give them options. And then sometimes when you give somebody options, it's a lot easier for them to decide. Hope that helps. Again, a very long answer to a short question. Aw, Heather says, like, I like how every decision you make has a personal purpose." Exactly. Actually, before I do go, I do wanna speak to this because that what you just mentioned is very important. We talk about purpose in painting. Every brush stroke has a purpose. Every color choice has a purpose. And I think when we first start painting, we can just be so grateful that we've made a painting that we like. We can just be so grateful, like, "I made this, look, I made this." And that's awesome. We definitely need to celebrate that. But as we progress as an artist and as we move forward, making those decisions intentional is a very important aspect of finding your style as an artist. Very often people will say to me, "How do you find your style? I want to get my style as an artist." And that exactly is the answer, is your question there is, when all the elements in your painting have a specific purpose, that's when you get your style. So you start to dial in the colors that you like to use, the colors that you're drawn to. And of course, to be able to do that, you must learn the language of color. The next thing might be brush techniques. How you apply the paint will become a part of your style. But to do that, you need to be a master of those techniques. So we kind of have to work backwards. It's not about finding a style, but it's about really mastering those core skills, the core ingredients of a painting, and then making intentional decisions about how to do that. Has anyone actually seen the challenge series of videos I did the last couple of weeks on YouTube? I might be able to drop a link in there. Let me see if I can drop a link. Basically, it was a challenge, a challenge series about how to create your own unique artwork. And I talk a little bit about styling there, and I think it will be a really clear process for anyone that kind of wants to dive into this. This is the perfect place to start, which is why I created it. So I'll just pop this down here. I think it's worked. Yes. Challenge. Oops. Challenge series. I'll just pop the link here. And there's 4 videos in total, and it takes you through a process that you can use from your paintings straight away. So you can either go through. Also, I'll just mention, I don't think that link works on Instagram, and it might not work on Facebook either, but you can just head straight to my YouTube channel. You'll just see it, the most recent videos on there. Oh, Raindrop says yes, and I love them. Yay, I'm so glad, because I was really intentional about how I made those videos to really break down that process into the easiest way. And I think these videos mostly will cover how to be intentional in your paintings and how to really start carving and creating paintings that reflect you as the artist. So definitely go check out that challenge series. Yeah, there's 4 videos in total, all on YouTube. And yeah, hope you like it. And I'll see you tomorrow, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. For those that are registered, you should get an email from me in 45 minutes with the details of tomorrow's class. I'm so excited, and I'm sure I will recognize a lot of your names from the comment section tomorrow. And thank you so, so much for being here with me. That was really fun. I'm going to get a cup of tea and continue with my painting. And I'll post it on Instagram stories. So I'll see you there. See you guys. Bye.